And welcome to well, that probably was a bit loud. Let me tone it down a little bit. This is the Thermaltake View 32. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be putting the Smart Series 750 watt power supply in. Actually, 700 watts. Should take more heat. It's an RGB one, but we won't be able to see the RGB. So, but we're putting it in anyway because it's Thermaltake. Then we're going to be using the Pure Plus 12 RGB fans. Now these are a good price point, but I haven't reviewed them yet. So technically, in this video, there's going to be two videos, because obviously there's already a link in the description down below about this review on its own, but there's not one with what we're doing now, which we're going to put a build together, and this will be out on Wednesday. I've had this for a while, and guess what it is? Oh, I think you can guess what it is. It's a CPU air cooler. So instead of doing any water cooling today, it's going to be RGB CPU air cooler by Thermaltake. So we want to see if it's silent or it can actually do the performance. The RGBs is kind of what comes last, but technically it looks good aesthetically. So that's what we want. But it's gonna, it says that it can use for Gigabyte, for Biostar, for ASRock, for MSI, and so that's Asus, Aura, Sync, and RGB, MSI, Mystic Link, Light Link as well. And this is for, if I'm mistaken, not mistaken, right, all the platforms, just all of them. So 2066, 2011, 1366, 1155, 1156, 1151, 1150, 775 socket, which is proper old school. Anyway, AMD, AM4, FM2, FM1, AM3 Plus, AM3, AM2 Plus, and AM2. So they've got you covered. The cooling power of this little device is 150 watt TDP. 12 watts, 12 volt sync for the RGBs and all that sort of stuff. It's meant to be having great heat dissipation and stuff. And acoustic noise is meant to be at 22 decibels. So we'll look out for that. And then 13 decibels with LNC. Okay. Air circumference fan mounted 53. 500 to 1500 RPM speed. So yeah, this looks like a decent RGB fan. It's got aluminium fins and copper heat pipes. So we'll take a look because technically with RGB CPU fans, they seem to be catching up the what's it called, the Aztec just the design of AIO water cooling, and it seems to be coming up. And I've tested some air cooling back in the day, and some people loved that video so much that it got a ton of views on. And I was like, I didn't think it would get a ton of views because it was in CPU air cooling. Everyone was into AIO and water cooling and custom water cooling, and yeah, it got a ton of views and people liked it. It was really silent. We done a brute test with Prime 95, so yeah, it was really like a torture test. But anyway, these are the Pure Plus 1200 to 100. I don't know where I got 100 from. Pure Plus 12 RGB fans. These are the cheaper versions of their more expensive ones, which I don't have around me at the moment. But these are brand new. No, they're not brand new actually. This is brand new. That's the one that's brand new. This is okay. This has been out for a while, but these are cheaper. But this was at Computex and stuff. I guess this was at Computex as well. I can't remember. But anyway, we've got that. We're going to be using a GTX 1050 Ti by MSI. We're going to be using a Carbon Pro MSI motherboard. And that little motherboard is a very small motherboard. It's a mini ATX motherboard. And obviously we're going to use a 700 watt power supply. It's a little gaming station. And we're going to be using an SSD as well, and we're going to use an NVMe Samsung somewhere, and we're going to be using ballistic memory 2 tactical RAM, but it's not RGB, but we don't need it to be 2 RGB, and this is going to be going in as my daughter's build. But she wants custom water cooling. She said she wanted electric liquid cooling in there, and I haven't obviously got around to it, and this case is really smudgy and dirty, but that's because it is so full of glass. It's so much glass. So what we're going to do is just leave it like this, and then obviously build a build together with you, my friends. Put it together and then clean it all afterwards. Some sweet B-roll, cinematic or cinematography shots. So let's get on with the build anyway. Should be simple. It should take me about 25 minutes to build this. If it doesn't take me 25 minutes to build it, actually it's going to take me longer because I just thought about it. Let's go, let's build it.
tell me that you want me, don't play that game, 'cause I'm not gonna wait here like a fool. There must be a way I can make you see that if we fell in love, you would be so sweet. But when it's you and me, nobody can bring us down, bring us down, 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 can bring us down, bring us down.
So we got the Riing Silent 12 sync CPU cooler RGB, and it's installed in there, and it's connected to the MSI Z270i gaming Carbon Pro motherboard, which is a mini ITX, and it's got its RGB or LED connector, which comes with the actual CPU air cooler. So I've plugged it in and I connected to the motherboard, and at the moment I've got those colours going, but we're going to talk about that in a minute because technically we want to know about performance. I've got Ada 64 running, and it's really hot today in the UK. It's like 31 degrees of humidity, so not like normal breeze of sunshine, it's actually really hot. So in this room it's probably pretty hot as well, and at the moment we're on 49 degrees. We're using a 7350K CPU, and it's not overclocked or anything like that, and we're going to run and stress test it for an hour on AD64. So the lowest core on there at the moment is 39 degrees, and the highest, actually it's saying the motherboard's 49 degrees, sorry. So the CPU, what we got, SSD is running at 48 degrees and 49 degrees. Right, so the highest the CPU is running at the moment is 40 degrees. Right, and the lowest one, 37. So that's not too bad. So let's just run it and see what we get out of it. So I'm going to run this for an hour. At the bottom is going to be a lapse time of 1 hour, and then obviously I can give you my direct response and show you how hot the CPU gets, or the CPU cooler, how well it performs. And I think we should run, what do we want to run? Center. So we're going to run the command center, and that will give us a temperature at the, actually saying that this is just one load that we can have. Where is it? CPU fan there, fan tuned. It's on auto at the moment for the CPU voltage. Sounds like the CPU fan's kicking off, so that's pretty cool. Then on Ada 64, so we're between 60 and 55, but if I leave it where it goes, then it should be okay. So stressing the CPU, FPU, stress cache, and stress system memory as well. Everything else is off. But this has got a TD watt of 150 watt of cooling power, so it should be okay, and it doesn't sound very loud at all. Seeing a maximum 68 degrees though, over 2 minutes. So let's see how well it does, and take it from there. So, the question is, did this actually perform right? Now, when it came down to, I said it's going to be 1 hour of bench testing. I actually done it for 2 hours and 1 minute on a hot day. So it's like 31, 32 degrees outside. So in here, we've got the windows open, and it's probably around the same or maybe hotter. Not too sure. But the highest temperature we've got looks like it peaked about 62 degrees. On the 7350K CPU by Intel, and we've got a lower core count as well on the other core, which looks like it's got one leading and one following behind. That is pretty decent. Pretty impressed with that. Just wondering if it was an 8700K or 8600K. Obviously that runs cooler because I've got one in that computer, and I've also got an 8600K, and that runs cool. So that new architectural technology works better and more cooling performance than the Kaby Lake. Skylake works cooler as well. So if you're into Skylake or the Coffee Lake, for about temperatures and performance, because obviously when the performance hits a bottleneck, meaning that when it gets too hot, like a CPU cooler can't cool it down, it means that it starts to throttle. Now we've got this CPU going at 100% and it's working fine under these conditions. So I've got 2 intake Thermaltake fans and 1 exhaust, and the small motherboard as well, so mini ATX, and obviously the CPU air cooler, which is actually, this is called the Riing Silent 12 Sync. Right, okay. So that's what the CPU air cooler is. So it's got one of those RGB ring fans on top. It's got a copper base plate at the bottom, and then aluminium fins, and it passes through. So basically, with the graphics card, the thicker the graphics card that comes out towards me, and in length, will obviously go through as heat rises, it will go straight through the fins, and then it will come up through the fan and like literally exhaust straight out. Or if there's some missing for the dissipation of heat from the heat sink or the heat spreaders or the MOSFETs or chokes, they're underneath over there, or the phases, the heat rises through these gaps. So it depends on what case you've got. I haven't tested this case for obviously air cooling and torture testing to see how much it can have for airflow through the case, but to be honest with you, you've got decent airflow through the top and through on the other side as well, and there's no air vents at the top, but there is air vent at the back, so it's not too bad. So you get an exhaust sucking the heat out through the actual the aluminium fins, and then obviously the fan pushing to the exhaust fan as well. And the graphics card's heat's rising straight at the back. But at the moment, 2 hours 4 minutes, and we've got a peak of 64 degrees and a minimum of 60 degrees. So motherboard and SSD is running at 49 degrees each in there, so that's not too bad. So I'm pretty amazed. So hopefully this CPU air cooler, if you want to purchase it, look at the link in the description down below and purchase it down there. Also, I was going to say, can't remember what else I was going to say. So yeah, obviously links in the description down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe and everything like that. And this video is also sponsored by Blurred Creative, so if you want to check them out and gain or get something from them, they do wicked websites, graphic design, logos, banners for YouTube and animation and everything like that, depending on where you are in the country. And go check them out and go and say hi. Go and check them out on social media if you want. Anyway, see you next one. Thanks for watching.